My fiancée took her best friend's advice and told me, I just want to live a month away from you to be sure I marry you for love, not just habit. Then her friend pursued me, and we started dating. Now my fiancée is back in a panic. I am a 28-year-old man, and I am really confused by the events of the last month. My ex-girlfriend, Julie, 29, thinks that my current girlfriend, Mindy, 28, is manipulative and sabotaged our 4-year relationship. I was in a loving relationship with Yulia for the last 4 years. We met through some mutual friends, and Yulia and I were very compatible in terms of our love for outdoor activities and running. We had very similar lifestyles, and we supported each other during these 4 years. In addition, we have been living together for the last 3 years. We even talked about getting married in the summer. Everything was great, and I planned to propose to her during the holidays. However, I started to notice changes in Yulia's behavior around September. She was distant and seemed stressed. It was quite noticeable, and I got worried. I trusted her with all my heart, and I could not imagine she was cheating on me. But she did start spending more time alone. At the same time, Yulia's friend, Mindy, sent me a private message and asked me to meet her in secret because she wanted to tell me something about Yulia. Mindy and Yulia worked together, and I had known Mindy since I started dating Yulia. I was surprised, but to be honest, I assumed the worst. I met her at a coffee shop after work. She asked me if things between Yulia and me were going well. She told me that Yulia had told her that she planned to leave me soon, which left me in total shock. I asked her if there was someone else in Yulia's life, and she told me no, that Yulia had confided in her that she was not sure about marrying me. Mindy told me she just wanted to tell me so I would not be caught by surprise. I was devastated. I started to try harder to make our relationship more exciting, planning more dates, etc. Mindy was also helping me at that time, telling me more about what Yulia had told her. Eventually, before Thanksgiving, Yulia told me she loved me, but that she wanted to take a 1-month break to live alone. She said she just wanted to live alone for a month to make sure she wanted to marry me. It broke my heart. I asked her if she wanted to be with someone else, and she told me that was not the case, but that I should not do anything stupid either. She told me she loved me with all her heart, but she just wanted to be away from me to make sure she wanted to marry me for love and not because she was used to being with me. I did not understand that at all. I told her that if after 4 years she was not sure she wanted to marry me, maybe we should break up. We had a big fight, and we broke up. After a few days, as our lease was about to end, we decided to separate in December. She got a new apartment, and I stayed in our old apartment. I simply removed her name from the contract. After the breakup, I felt very lonely, as I was not used to being in the apartment alone. I did not want to keep being sad, so I invited several friends to a New Year's party. I also invited Mindy. We had a good time and my friends did their best to cheer me up. Mindy also socialized with my friends, which was nice. Mindy decided to stay to help me clean up, and that night we slept together. I felt guilty, but Mindy really cheered me up. Since then, we have spent almost every day together at my house. I am still sad about Yulia, but I am not going to lie. Being with Mindy makes me happy. She is sweet and affectionate. Last Sunday, we woke up and someone was knocking on the door. I went to open it, and it was Yulia. She was furious and started yelling at me. She accused me of being unfaithful to her. I told her that I certainly had not been unfaithful to her, and that she was the one who broke up with me. Mindy was also in my apartment. Yulia was angry with both of us. She started calling Mindy manipulative and told me that Mindy was the one who suggested she take some time away from me to understand her true feelings. I calmed her down and asked her to explain. She told me that since we talked about marriage, she had told Mindy, and Mindy kept asking her if she was sure about marrying me. Mindy suggested that she take some time for herself to understand her true feelings and that I would understand and give her space. When Yulia said no, Mindy convinced her that I was so controlling that I could not even give her a month to be alone and convinced her to break up with me. Mindy told me that she had not said those things, that they were Yulia's ideas, and that she was only present during those conversations. She did tell Yulia that she told me a few things so that I would have a chance to fix things with her in the last few months. That angered Yulia even more, and she started accusing me of being emotionally unfaithful. Yulia told me that these last few weeks made her realize that we were meant to be together, but now she cannot believe that I have moved on from a 4-year relationship in a week. On one hand, I want to believe Yulia, but she broke up with me through no fault of my own. Mindy was there for me when I was depressed, but now I doubt her too. She started talking to me suddenly, since we had never been really close, and immediately became my support after the breakup, even though Yulia was her close friend. Am I guilty of being emotionally unfaithful to Yulia? Should I have told her about Mindy's messages? I should not have moved on so quickly. Even though Yulia broke up with me, I was just hurt and Mindy was there to support me. I need advice from someone with a clear mind about what is happening. Comments. G-Bob-MC Fancy T. How can I find out if Yulia is telling the truth? Maybe she is just angry because I moved on too quickly. This is a pretty simple case, man. Talk to Yulia. If you have been together for 4 years and you were about to propose, you probably know her well enough to know if she is lying or not. Listen to her and follow your gut. Even if you decide not to reconcile or not to believe her, I would still recommend taking a break from Mindy. You rebounded very quickly. Barely a week after a 4-year relationship ended, and you are already sleeping with someone else. Take your time to grieve the relationship and focus on yourself. There is no need to rush into anything. Vegetable Trainer, 23. It is worrying how easily the two of you broke up due to Mindy's strategic words. I think Mindy is the key here. The timing, Yulia's sincere reaction, and how Mindy's influence on you seems to mirror what Yulia describes about Mindy's influence on her. It is all too suspicious. Mindy sounds a bit like the manipulative, stalking type of person, and for what it is worth, you are right about these two women. You clearly feel much more for Yulia than for Mindy. That should tell you a lot, brother. It sounds like you and Yulia need to talk in private and discuss what Mindy told each of you. As others have said, it all sounds too convenient. Mindy was in both of your ears, telling you exactly what she wanted you to hear to orchestrate all of this. Please contact Yulia and ask to speak alone. Even if you do not get back together, I am sure you care deeply for each other, and she would want you to be with someone who truly cares about you and does not manipulate you or her. Mindy's manipulation of you is more direct, but Yulia is also a victim. You are not wrong. If Yulia is right, I just threw a 4-year relationship overboard in 2 weeks. How could you ever trust Mindy? She literally destroyed your relationship with Yulia just so she could have you for herself. It was not about loving you or even liking you. It was about envy towards Mindy. She was so envious of what Yulia had with you that she sabotaged your relationship, and then, as soon as Yulia took a moment to figure out what she wanted, Mindy manipulated you into sleeping with her. Dude, get that girl out of your house. Even if you do not end up getting back with Yulia, Mindy will always manipulate you and those around you. Mindy is someone who greatly enjoys hurting people to get what she wants. Mindy was such a good friend to you that she destroyed your relationship with Yulia. I want to tell you something. When my friends confide in me about their fears and their relationships, I take it to the grave, and vice versa. You do not go back and talk privately with your friend's partner about their relationship. That is truly sick. That is emotional manipulation. That girl knew exactly what she was doing and played you like a puppet. Mindy has to go. Send her a message and tell her it is over, and tell her that if she contacts you again, you will get a restraining order for harassment. Block her on everything. Maybe you can work this out with Yulia with a lot of couples therapy. Look into intensive couples therapy immediately and see if you can convince Yulia to go with you. I do not know if you can rebuild the relationship, but I do know that Mindy will destroy you in the same way she destroyed Yulia, because for her it was all about possession and envy, not a relationship with you. Update 1. I, 28 male, posted last week about my girlfriend, Yulia, 29 female, accusing her friend and coworker, Mindy, 28 female, of sabotaging our relationship. Yulia broke up with me in December after a 4-year relationship, and Mindy reached out to me when I was feeling down. However, when Yulia realized that Mindy was talking to me, she confronted us both on Sunday morning and told me that Mindy had manipulated her into breaking up with me. The worst part was that I was not thinking clearly after the breakup, and I ended up sleeping with Mindy after a New Year's party. After the incident, I told her I needed time, and I have not seen her since. I made the post on Reddit, and 3,000 people called me an idiot. I am sorry for the long message, but I wanted to say that we were not idiots for not realizing what happened. You all read a summarized version of the events in 5 minutes, while we lived it for the last 7 months. Since then, I have been messaging Yulia every day to try to talk to her, but she did not respond. I was not sure if she had blocked me. Mindy kept sending me messages asking if we could meet and talk about it. On Wednesday, a day after I posted, I decided to send a message to Mindy. I told her to tell me everything she had told Yulia truthfully. I warned her that I would confront her if I found out she was lying. Mindy wanted to meet me in person or talk on the phone, but I wanted everything in writing. She sent me a message saying that Yulia had always said good things about me all these years. When Yulia told her about our plans to get married in 2024, she was happy for both of us. However, Yulia started telling her that she had doubts and that she was not sure if she wanted to marry me due to problems she observed in her parents' marriage. One day, Yulia told her that she wanted to take a break from me because she was not sure about her true feelings for me. That was the moment Mindy told me about Yulia's behavior, as she felt bad for me, since we were already telling our families about the engagement plans. After our fight, she said that Yulia was extremely upset and told Mindy that she would never marry me. She also said that the only reason Yulia came back was because she found out I was moving on with my life, as she was jealous of us. She also said that I was a good guy and that she hoped I would realize that what we have is something special. I just replied that I understood and that I needed time. I kept messaging Yulia once a day to at least talk to her once. It was heartbreaking to think that maybe she had blocked me and that I would never speak to her again. On Friday afternoon, Yulia finally responded. She said she wanted to see me and that she would come to our apartment on Saturday afternoon. I cleaned the place and I felt a deep sense of guilt before facing her. When she arrived, she looked like a shadow of her former self and completely broken. I sat on our couch, but she chose to sit far from me. We asked each other how we were, but it was clear that neither of us was okay. I started to apologize, but she stopped me. She asked me to let her finish and not to interrupt her. She had brought a small notebook and had written down things she wanted to tell me. She told me that she really loved me, but that after talking about getting married, she started to feel scared of the next big step. She thought those feelings were normal and that they would go away, so she decided not to talk to me about her concerns. That kept eating at her inside, and she made the mistake of talking to Mindy about it. She said she wanted to tell me everything now so that I would not get secondhand information about why she was distant and broke up with me. She said that her parents' marriage was very conflictive. Although they were together until her mother passed away in 2021 during the pandemic, her parents argued constantly, and she always thought that her mother did not love her father. However, her mother was very dependent on him for everything and her father knew it, so he did not treat her well. Yulia never wanted to be like her mother after marriage. However, as we lived together, she began to see some of those issues in our relationship. For example, when we met, Yulia had a lot of credit card debt and was bad at managing her money. I helped her with that. Even though we have our finances separate, I ended up managing all her finances, investments, etc., at her request, to the point that she did not know or understand exactly where her money was. She also said that we always enjoyed preparing good dinners every day, but that when I worked late, she would completely lose the motivation to cook and would end up eating cheese and crackers like a little girl for dinner. She also complained that in the last 4 years of our relationship, I have never said no to anything she wanted to buy. She feels that I spoil her too much and that she got used to all the luxuries and things I can offer her. She talked about this with Mindy, and although Mindy initially just listened to her, around September, she mentioned that a cousin of hers also had the same problem. Her cousin decided to get away from her fiancé for a month, and, in a week, she realized how much she missed him and never had doubts again. When Julie asked for a break, all she wanted was to live with her best friend for a few weeks to see if she was too dependent on me. She knew I was planning to propose during our Christmas trip to my parents' house, and when I told her she could not take a break, she got scared and broke up with me, as she did not want to get engaged without being sure that we would not end up like her parents. After this, she asked me when I started seeing Mindy and how many times we had met. I opened my chat messages with Mindy and passed her the phone. I told her that I had only seen Mindy once in September, when she told me that Yulia wanted to break up with me because she was not happy with our relationship. I had already noticed that Yulia was distant, and when I asked her, the only answer I got was, "I am fine. We are fine." Due to my insecurities, I tried to hold on to Yulia more tightly. When Yulia asked me for a break and to get away from me for a few weeks, I thought it was the final step before the breakup, and that caused me to break down and fight with her, which led to our breakup and her moving out. At that moment, Yulia's voice began to break. She asked me when Mindy contacted me after the breakup. I showed her the messages. Initially, Mindy only sent me memes to cheer me up, and I used to reply with thanks or a thumbs up. However, the messages became more frequent, and she offered to talk if I needed help. She asked me what I was planning to do for Christmas and New Year's, and when I told her I was inviting some friends, she told me she had no plans for New Year's, so I invited her. Yulia interrupted me there. She told me she did not need to hear more details. Then, she told me that when she moved out of our house after our fight, she thought she was simply not ready to marry me. She stayed with her friend for 2 weeks and then got her new apartment in January. She told me she was miserable and that she missed me a lot. That became more apparent when she moved into the apartment alone and could not stay there for even one night. Her best friend is staying with her in the new apartment. She realized she could not live without me within a week of living there. When she asked one of our mutual friends on Saturday how I was, they told her about the party and said that Mindy was there. It did not make sense to her why Mindy would be at the party. She concluded that Mindy and I had been having an affair during our relationship, and that was the reason why Mindy constantly tried to separate us, telling her she should not get married if she had doubts. When she saw Mindy in our apartment on Sunday, she completely fell apart. However, when she found out that Mindy was also talking to me and telling me the opposite, she realized how naive she was to throw everything away without properly talking to me first. Despite how hurt she is to see me with Mindy, she does not want to lose me either. She kept calling herself an idiot and apologizing for not telling me her concerns sooner. I sat next to her and tried to hug her, but she moved away. She asked me if I was still willing to be together, and I told her I would do anything to get her back. She told me she was also willing to forget what happened, but she had some conditions. Her first condition was that I cut all contact with Mindy, block her everywhere, and never contact her again. If I see her in front of me, I should act as if she is invisible. I agreed with that. Secondly, she had already signed up for individual therapy and is on the waiting list. She wants us to do couples therapy to talk about all the concerns we have and overcome them together. We also decided to postpone our engagement or marriage until we can start couples therapy. I agreed with that too. Finally, she wanted me to forget the last month like a bad nightmare and never mention it again, and that if I ever made a joke about we were on a break, she would punch me in the face. This was the first time we both smiled. I asked her what she was going to do about Mindy, since they work together. She told me that the biggest punishment for Mindy is knowing that she did not succeed in separating us. She wants Mindy to see how happy she is with me. She wants Mindy to be present when she shows off her engagement ring at the office and to get jealous when we get married. We hugged, and I felt so relieved to have a chance to fix things for her. I asked her to stay, and she agreed. The rest of the night was nice. We ordered Dorda. We watched reruns of Top Chat while we cuddled on the couch. In the morning, we discussed moving in together again. I want her to come back to our old apartment, but she wants a fresh start and asked me if I would be willing to move into her new apartment. Her new apartment is small compared to ours, and it is also not in the best neighborhood, but we will talk about it more and decide. I will also have to solve the problem of having 2 12-month leases and how to get out of one of them. Currently, Yulia went to her apartment after lunch to pick up some of her things for the week, and I am writing this post. I am so lucky not to have lost Yulia despite my terrible actions over the last month. I just hope I can work things out and we can get married soon, and that this whole incident is just a small stumble in our perfect relationship. Also, I do not know how to address the issue of her feeling that I spoil her too much with my behavior and that she feels I am making her dependent on me. It is just my personality, and I need to work on that during couples therapy. However, any advice from you all on how to make her feel less dependent is welcome. Update 2. Thank you to everyone who was concerned about my health in the last few days through direct messages and sent me helpline numbers. Do not worry, I am a marathon runner and I do not give up that easily. After the incident, Yulia told me she wanted to get back together and forget the whole thing, but I could see that she was still hurt by my behavior. I tried not to love bomb her and to give her her space, as that was the reason we broke up in the first place. Yulia had a nervous breakdown and a panic attack during the week after seeing Mindy with me in our apartment. She got an online therapist here, whom she still sees once a week. We also sought couples counseling and were able to see one almost a month after the incident. We decided to put our marriage plans on hold until then. I could feel that Yulia was making a great effort to act normal, but something was not right. I was optimistic about us, but it was hard to see her suffer because of my actions. During our first couples therapy session, we both opened up about our relationship and talked about the incident. Yulia apologized to me for not communicating what was on her mind and for how bad she felt for putting me through all that drama. She told me she did not know how to process her thoughts and did not want to unload all her negative feelings on me, and she panicked. At that moment, I also apologized for everything, and at one point, we were competing to see who took more blame for what happened. There were many tears, and the experience was very healing. The counselor told us that he could see how much we love each other and that we should take small steps to talk about what is on our minds. He gave us some exercises to do after we went home and to discuss certain topics. By the time we left his office, I was so sure that I wanted to spend my life with Yulia. I told her so, and she also told me that she could not imagine a life without me. We decided to move forward with our wedding plans. Mindy tried to contact me several times. She sent me messages, but Yulia blocked her on my phone and on all social media. She also contacted Yulia and sent her some nasty messages. The worst was 15 days after the incident, when Mindy started posting pictures of her and me on Instagram every day. Some of those pictures were intimate, not nudes, and they caused a lot of pain to Yulia. Yulia reported her to Human Resources and got a transfer and promotion to another department after a month. The last I heard from Mindy was when she sent a long email to my work email, but I deleted it without reading it. The photos Mindy posted caused a lot of drama, and we had to explain to our parents and friends what had happened during that time. As you might have guessed, I was unanimously nominated for the Idiot of the Year award, but I am sure my sister would give me a good run for my money before the year is over. The whole issue lasted for a month, and then we never heard from Mindy again, and we just moved on with our lives. Julie has been talking to her therapist about her emotional dependency issues and her concerns. I think it is a childhood trauma, and the therapist feels it might have been amplified after her mother's sudden death. I have been trying to help Yulia to get interested in our finances little by little, but she is allergic to talking about money and always changes the subject. I was able to break the lease that Yulia signed by paying a penalty, and we stayed in our old apartment. However, Yulia wanted to move out as soon as possible because of the bad memories. We bought a single-family home a few months ago in a good suburb, and we moved there in May. I do not think the emotional dependency issue is resolved, and it has probably increased after the incident, but I love her, and I will always be there for her when she needs me. Final update. Yulia and I got married last Saturday in a beautiful, intimate ceremony at my father's country club. All our family and friends were present, and I could not have asked for a better night. I wish I could share pictures of Yulia in her wedding dress, because she looked stunning. We plan to go on our honeymoon next week, and I could not be happier with how things turned out. I hope that in 25 years, Yulia and I will look back at this incident as a small stumble in our perfect life.